Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at the next promo S-Class character. I did release a video earlier, you may have seen, and it was of a character called Willie. Now this guy was kind of assumed to be the next promo character, but apparently he's not going to be the next promo character. They've withdrawn him for whatever reason. He's not going to be the next promo, and it's going to be Eugene as an S-Class. It was announced on the Discord, it is on the blog. He is going to be the next S-Class character, and we're going to have a quick look at him. Now, as an S-Class character, Eugene looks like he is, I don't know, he's been working on stuff. He looks kind of grimy. He's got the goggles. He's got, he's like Batman's belt everywhere. He's very much utility man right now, but as a character, Eugene is quite an old school character within Walking Dead. Obviously a comic book character as well, so again we're seeing more comic book characters come into the game. We've seen Rosita, now Eugene, we've seen Shiva. So we did see a lot of characters called out in my previous Rosita video. I did ask what characters you wanted to see, and a lot of you were saying like Shane, Rick, Michonne, Negan. So these characters look like they're coming through, which is actually great. But we'll take a little look at Eugene himself, and he's got 3,224 attack, 3,440 defense, and 4,084 HP. Now this is him being max level 150, but without 30 veteran rings. This is with no veteran rings, so he will get a boost in those stats once veteran rings on this character. He'll get around about an extra, I don't know, he'll get an extra 40% pretty much in all of these stats. It's around about that. It is slightly different. I think attack gets the biggest boost out of all of this, but I wouldn't be surprised if his HP stat was over 5,000 once he gets the 30 veteran rings. Now his trait is strong and his role is support, so very similar to what we saw of Willie earlier in terms of being kind of all-round character. Got a little bit more HP, but all-round strong support character. His adrenaline rush is called Seasoned Insight. Now it's got 58 AP cost rush, so 8% weapon on a defense team behind the correct leader, huge weapon, and it's going off turn 2 without a command. So that could be very, very dangerous. The rush itself deals 400% damage to one enemy, but up to 5 enemies. That just basically means the entire attack or defense team get impaired for 1 turn. This character gets 75% defense for 3 turns. So obviously 3 parts to this. Just straight up, he does damage to one character, single hit, not massive, 400%. He hasn't got good base attack stat, so it's not going to hit too hard, but it's just a single target hit rush. The up to 5 enemies get impaired for 1 turn, however, is really powerful just because impair resist is not used by too many people from what I've seen. You know, you can use this guy on an attack team, command rush him. He's going to be able to just stop the entire team from gaining AP for 1 turn. And on certain teams, for instance, if you've got rampage weapons, it blocks AP gain from rampage weapons as well. So if you can, command him turn 2, the basic attacks from certain rampage characters, there'll be no AP gain. If you even rush with those characters, there'll be no AP gain. So it's actually going to be pretty beneficial there. Then he just turns into a tank, like 75% defense. I see that more of him being like being commanded and being kind of useless for a little while, and you want to just make it so that he's not very easily taken out. 75% defense on a defense team, that means he can sort of like keep his defense up until the next time he's going to rush. Is going to be very, very annoying because of that. So his rush is quite nice. In the right circumstances, it's going to be very controlling, going to have a high influence on the battle just because of the full impair. His active skill, however, is extremely strong. There is obviously a big downside to this though. It has recover and elusive. Initial cooldown of 3, cooldown of 2, number of uses 5. All teammates recover from debilitating effects and get elusive for 1 turn. So obviously the big issue here is it is an initial cooldown of 3. Now you can have it so that he gets this off turn 3 and rushes fast enough as well. He can basically do a basic attack turn 1 with a huge AP on attack leader and a huge AP on attack weapon and an 8% weapon in one of his teammates' hands. He will get a turn 2 rush naturally. He cannot be commanded turn 2 for this to happen. If he gets commanded, he will not actually have a 3rd turn. So then he rushes turn 2 naturally, and then turn 3 he will do his active. Now I wasn't sure if a 1 turn elusive would actually be that effective, whether it would just affect your attacks on the turn it was actually activated, or it would also affect the opponent's attacks on their turn when it goes to them. It does actually affect their turn as well, so your team is fully elusive when they attack you. It doesn't wear out after your guys attack on that turn, so whether you're on an attack team or defense team, it will last for one full turn, your opponent's attack and your own attack. This does make it extremely powerful. However, the downside of this is it is on turn 3. You see, where the issue comes in with Eugene is that if you naturally did the attack, rush, active sequence that I said before, the elusive will be on a turn when the other team's going to be naturally rushing you, so it doesn't make really any difference. An attack team will be attack, rush naturally. Obviously they can have speed ups, they can have characters that can give AP, they can have commands, but it will naturally be attack, rush if it's behind an AP leader. That's kind of what you want to build. On defense, it's generally the same, attack, rush. However, because Eugene can be so quick like we said before, he's going to be attack, rush, then active. Eugene's going to rush on a defense team turn 2, impair the enemy for their 3rd turn, so no rushes on the 3rd turn. Then Eugene will active on turn 3, and then the opponents are going to all have their rushes, so it's not going to really make too much of a difference. The only way it could work is if Eugene gets command rushed 1st turn, then will do his active turn 3. If he's not command rush 1st turn, his opponents will not be in an AP gain phase when he does his elusive naturally. So you have to make sure that's the way you do it. There are not very many leaders who actually have AP on attack at the moment who are good defense team leaders. Most of them are AP on defense. The only AP on attack characters that I can really think of that would help Eugene would be like characters like Raulito, Wang Fa, Ivanova, and none of these give defensive stats, and that's kind of what you want for a defense team leader. On attack, Eugene's going to run into the same sort of issues where his active elusive is not really going to be too effective, because turn 3 is when the opponent will be rushing. You can't make him rush turn 2 unless you command him to first, and if you command him, he's going to lose a turn. So regardless, the ordering on attack doesn't work. He's only ever going to work on defense, and right now the character to make him work doesn't even exist. So it's kind of a weird character to bring out when it comes to the active, but the potential is there to be very strong, but it just wouldn't work. It doesn't work right now, pretty much. Now, he has got a very powerful specialist skill, which is Indomitable, which means that while he's not stunned, whenever he gets attacked, he will gain 30% defense until the start of the next turn. This actually stacks, so if 3 people attack him, he gets 30%, 30%, 30%, and he can get huge amounts of defense. It will stack with his buff from his adrenaline rush as well. He'll be very tanky if that goes off and people try and focus him. It is a little bit of a shame that he maybe doesn't have a taunt, because taunting people into Indomitable is actually pretty good just because he will not take that much damage. And I'd probably say his specialist skill and his rush are probably the best things about him right now in terms of usability. His active skill could potentially come into use in the future, but I don't really think this character is that great, and the character that we initially had that leaked to be released today, the promo character Willie, was much better than Eugene. It was having a lot of people thinking about how they could build teams with him, you know, the kind of power that he could bring, the counters that he'd have to face, the synergy that he'd have with teams that he'd go in with. Eugene doesn't really have anyone to work with right now. You know, he doesn't have that defensive AP on attack lead that he'd need for a defense team leader. So it is a bit of a shame that he's been subbed in for Willie at this point. It doesn't look like he has an attached weapon, however, so he will be able to have like stun on attack, this sort of thing, so he will get extra control there. That's always the bonus with strong characters. He can always get in-hands control. There's not many characters that can get that. And that's pretty much how I see Eugene. It's just like a low-level controller, sort of like a weakened version of Lao Po, where he will rush a lot faster on attack teams. He could be used potentially in some bleed teams to just get a lot of control on that 2nd turn command or 3rd turn. You know, guaranteed impair everybody. Not a lot of people run resists. If you do have him in a combo with Wang Fa and potentially in the future Willie, it could be pretty decent. He could work quite well in that team. The only combo that I can see working where his active skill would actually work right now is if he was in a team with someone like Lewis, who would be massively draining everyone's AP due to his slow. Then people would have to gain more AP but the active elusive would be there. So that's the only combination I can see right now that would actually work. But other than that, I don't see the elusive being too effective just because it is turn 3 rather than turn 2. If it was attack, active, rush, it would be much more dangerous, but right now being attack, rush, active, it's not so scary. Rushing people when they've got elusive doesn't really do much the way elusive works. It's all about AP gain, and that's pretty much it. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people will look at, that the fact that it gives everybody elusive, but the timing just isn't there with that initial cooldown. If fights do get drawn out, however, the cooldown goes to every other turn, that's when it could become a little bit nasty, but fights are pretty quick at the moment. But do tell me what you think of Eugene. What do you think of Eugene as a comic book character? I know there are a lot of people who are fans of comic book characters out there, and is anyone a Eugene fan out there? That's what I'm asking. What do you think of Eugene as a character in Road to Survival? What do you think of Eugene coming out instead of Willie? Which character would you have preferred to have been released? Do let me know in the comments, guys. I always try and read my comments, always try and reply. That is the end of my video though, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.